If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, listen up. CarShield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that covers more parts than ever. Visit carshield.com/audio to find out how you could pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Get your free quote today at carshield.com/audio. That's carshield.com/audio.
We made this.
Welcome back to We Are Starfleet, the only Star Trek Discovery podcast on the We Made This network and one of many in the podcast universe. That felt a bit bored-like to say, and I gotta say that one closing scene from that episode of Lower Decks, where all the Lower Decks Borg are regenerating, it just lives rent-free in my head. Folks, it's about that time. A new season of Star Trek Discovery is almost upon us, with Season 4 set to premiere on November 18th on Paramount+, which means that We Are Starfleet is back, covering the individual episodes with a rotating crew of Trekkie hosts, chiefly among them myself, that's me, Mike Slammer, hey, that's me, and my co-host Ian Buckley, who is currently on an away mission to the Outer Rim. That's a deep cut reference to a future podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe and follow button and stay up to date on the show. Give us a follow on all the social medias at Starfleet Pod on Twitter and Instagram. I promise I'll try to stay up to date on everything and tweet from there often enough. Over on the Facebooks, you can follow the group We Made Treks to join in on the Star Trek discussions. And of course, if you'd like to help support the show and many others, please do check out patreon.com/We Made This. Or if you'd like to help keep me from exploring uncharted nebulas, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Mike Slammer. Okay, so it is time to finally beam aboard the starship USS Discovery NCC 1031-A, very important, which is now finally captained by none other than Michael Burnham herself. She's finally taken the con, and if you're listening to this and you're wondering, whoa, wait a second. How did she become captain? I thought it was Captain Saru. Well, then that means you are in the right place. You are listening to the right folks, because with me today, beaming in from Earth, wait, I'm also on Earth, so I guess we're both in the same place. I am delighted to introduce the journalist, podcaster, first-time guest to the show, definitely not the last, Ashley Thomas. Ashley, hello and welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Mike. It's good to be here.
I'm so glad you came on today. I can't tell you how awesome it is to do podcasting, especially, over the course of the past 18 to 24 months, talking with folks like yourself who just love Star Trek. And that's kind of the theme of what the show actually is.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense to me.
The togetherness, being the one. Yes. So I love asking this question of every guest who comes on, and even just in general. You got to tell me your superhero origin story. How did you fall in love with the Star Trek franchise? What about it has kept you coming back over the years?
Well, I guess I've been into Star Trek since 2009. Which, I mean, doesn't sound like it was that long ago, but I did the math, and that's 11 years ago, and that kind of hurts my feelings. Um, but while my handle on social media is I'm TheNerdyBlogger, and I nerd out about lots and lots of things. There are very few things I don't nerd out about. That's a shorter list. But Star Trek wasn't one of those things. So when my husband and I were dating, we he was still in school, and so we went on a lot of cheap dates, which included lots of trips to the Dollar Theater, and one of those was to see the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. And he's like, "Oh, I saw this with my dad a few weeks ago, and it was really great." And I told him like, well, I've never really watched Star Trek. I mean, I knew who like Spock was and Kirk, but I didn't really know anything else about Star Trek. He's like, that's okay. You don't have to. This is a different timeline. So uh, we went, and I fell in love with Star Trek. The Star Trek universe. I thought it was great. Went home immediately. Started streaming the original series on
Wow.
Netflix. And so I took the next 6 years and I binged all of Star Trek that was available at that time. So everything from original series to Enterprise and all the movies. I have acute, severe onset completionist tendencies. So if I'm going to watch something, I'm going to watch something. But I genuinely found something to enjoy in every series and film. And
Wow.
I just fell in love, and I think at this point, Star Trek might be my main fandom. And
Wow.
yeah, um, I've just been doing a lot of deep dives into Trek. My master's degrees in literature and language, concentrating in imaginative lit. Um, but part of my curriculum for that included a Star Trek class that I got to audit this past summer.
Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
yeah, so I don't know how not to deep dive. I guess I'm borderline ADHD, and hyper focus is a symptom that I have of that. And I find something I like and I fixate. And Star Trek is something that I really enjoy. It's become a really big part of my life, and has been especially like in the past year and a half when things have been
Sure.
insane. Just a nice um, reminder that people can be better if they choose to be better. um, and I can't control anybody but me. So I'm gonna try to be better. And Star Trek's just give me a lot of hope and encouragement. So
That's a phenomenal outlook. And I'm really interested to hear that it was the 2009 film that really brought you into the fandom.
yeah.
It's a very, J.J. Abrams and his series of films in the Star Trek universe have been very divisive over the years. And we're not here to discuss that because personally, I loved the Kelvin verse for all the flaws that it came with.
Hmm.
Um, and I often say, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on the We Made This Discord groups, or whether it's on our Facebook groups, it took that film, that 2009 film, to really revive this franchise in popular media and give it the economic juice that it needed to prove to the powers that be that this is a real thing and we need to take it seriously. And here we are, 2021, and thousands of podcasts exist. This among one of them. You know, all the media that comes out surrounding it. You have tons of fandoms dedicated. You've got a Star Trek Day, which is a new thing. You've got a First Contact Day, which is a new thing. And I have to wonder, like 11 years ago, 2009, when the film came out, none of this stuff existed.
Hmm.
So it went from like a trickle and it just ramped right up.
Absolutely. And now we have so many Star Trek series in the works. I mean, currently running, we've got, Lower Decks just finished. We've got Prodigy
Hmm.
going right now. Discovery's kicking up next week. We've got, Picard coming, a Strange New Worlds, potentially a Section 31 series at some
Hmm.
point. So, I mean, Star Trek is not slowing down. If anything, it is putting out more content than, I mean,
Than
just about
ever.
any other fandom. I mean, this is the most Star Trek we've had ever, and lots of different entry points for different kinds of people, and I think that's great.
Yeah, that's one thing that I love about the Star Trek fandom is that there's something for everybody. There's always, in a lot of fandoms, there's always this driving force of this is our creative vision and you're either with it or you're not. And it's fine if you're not, but that's it's it's a give and it's a take relationship. With Star Trek exists because of fans. Season 3 of the original series would never have happened if it wasn't for a fan write-in campaign back in the
Hmm.
60s.
Hmm.
So the fans being a part of this show is absolutely key. Strange New Worlds with Anson Mount would have never have happened had the fans not like immediately seen him in episode 1, season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, been like, no, we want this show. We
Yeah.
want this show
He's
with
so
Anson
good.
Mount.
He is so good.
Oh my God, he's so good. He's so good. Yes. There he is. For you listeners, you can't see it, but I do have a nice photo signed of Anson Mount
Oh,
on the
very cool.
bridge of the Enterprise. Very nice. It was an excellent moment.
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
before we get off super topic here, I want to bring it back to Star Trek Discovery. On that note, since we're talking about the recap here of season 3, in a lot of ways, the season felt like a spiritual successor to Star Trek Voyager. The idea of an orphaned ship and crew out on its own trying to survive. Did you get this impression throughout the season? Did you feel those big Star Trek Voyager vibes coming from the show?
That's a really interesting comparison that frankly I am shocked that I did not make, because Janeway is my captain. She sits on my desk. For those of you listening, you can't see my vintage Captain Janeway action figure, but she hangs it on my desk. I have a picture of me and Kate Mulgrew over here to my left on my wall from where I met her 2 years ago at Rhode Island Comic Con. I had not thought to make that comparison, and frankly I'm very upset with myself that I did not, because that seems very obvious now that you have said that. But that's a really fascinating way to think about this, because we're not off in the Delta Quadrant, where we don't have connection with the Federation at all. We're in the future, and so at least going into season 3, you think you have hope of connecting with the Federation or some iteration of the Federation, in the future. But apparently that is not the case, or at
That
least
is
not to the extent they thought they would.
right. Yeah, it just there's we're watching Star Trek Voyager, my wife and I together, and there's a lot of moments in the show where I can't help but feel like there's that connection to Discovery as well. There it is. There's just I can't quite put my finger on every single moment, on every single piece of data. It just comes and goes where, especially in Discovery when they show the Voyager Dash J,
Oh my
and it's like,
gosh, I screamed.
that's a big hero moment. That's one of your hero ships. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did Voyager though and not Enterprise, because they already did Enterprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we could have, there was a reference to the Defiant, there's references all over the place, but Voyager, I feel, is just, it's home to me. It's one of the Star Trek series that when I was a kid I watched it on air as it aired.
Oh, nice.
So that was my show. So Janeway is also my captain.
Oh.
She's wonderful. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing a lot of talking and especially a lot of writing about Star Trek, I've noticed. And I got to shout out your recent interviews with showrunner Michelle Paradise and Sonequa Martin Green for Fangirlish. Can you
Yes.
please give us a little primer on what those entail, and especially where can we find all those?
Sure. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I am a staff writer at fangirlish.com. I am the resident Trekspert. So I cover all of the Star Trek shows. So I've covered. I started last year by covering Discovery. I then went from there to Lower Decks to Prodigy. I'm working on Prodigy right now. And I'll be, of course, covering Discovery again when it starts up next week. And any other future Star Trek shows that are coming out, I'm going to be writing about them too, because I love me some Star Trek.
Yes.
So Fangirlish was invited by Paramount and Viacom CBS to be part of roundtable interviews with the cast and crew, not just of Discovery, but also of Prodigy as well. So about a month ago, I got to be part of these virtual Zoom interviews. So for the Discovery interviews, I was in a room with 3 other journalists, and we all took turns asking questions of the different cast and showrunner that were there. So it was a series of 3 rounds of interviews, and they paired everybody off. So Sonequa Martin Green and showrunner Michelle Paradise were in the first one. So I was able to ask a couple of questions of Sonequa and Michelle. It was really, really nice. They were both just everybody was great. They gave really thoughtful responses, and were really engaged with everybody there. So that was really fun. The second round included Mary Wiseman and David Ajala, which Tilly is my favorite character. I have like a few like all-time favorite fictional characters, and one of them's Brienne of Tarth. The other is from Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. The other is Tilly, and I feel like I get both sides of my personality with those two women. Tilly is all of my massive exuberance and chattiness and hyperactivity, but also like the parts of me that are not as confident as I want to be. But man, you put me in a fight, and I'm gonna sit in that captain's chair, and I'm gonna say, "Damn right, get out of my way," you know. So I love Mary Wiseman for her portrayal of Tilly. So that was really sweet to get to speak with her and David. David was, I thought I asked a very broad question of David, and he thought I was trying to get spoilers out of him, and so he almost tripped up and said spoilers, and did not. He, like Book, he's really quick on his feet. But I got a good chuckle out of him for it, so it was fun. And then the final round of interviews were with Wilson Cruz, Blue Del Barrio, and Anthony Rapp, and they were all just so fun. And it was funny because it was end of the day, last session for them, and Wilson lost his train of thought trying to answer one of the questions. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just bombed this last thing." He was so sweet. But everybody was just such fun. Gave really thoughtful responses. Really engaged with everybody there. So it was really wonderful to be part of that, and I was really grateful to have had that opportunity. So if you want to watch those are all live on Fangirlish right now. You can go to fangirlish.com, and if you scroll down a little bit and click on the categories section, if you click on Star Trek, you will find all those interviews plus all the other things I've written about Star Trek on Fangirlish. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Ashley, we have a big task ahead of us here.
All right.
In anticipation of season 4, coming in less than a week by the time this episode is live, I've asked you to help me do a previously on Star Trek episode here for season 3. We're going to recap the season episode by episode, unpacking key elements to reveal the full scope of the narrative. So, listeners, if you're hungry for that deep dive study, if you're hungry and you want more out of a particular episode, take a look at our previous podcast episode lists where we get into those little nitty-gritties. For example, Unification Part 3 has special guest cast member Oyen Oladeo joining us, and
this is the smell of the leftover tuna fish sandwich you left in your lunchbox over the weekend in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy!
Blech! And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Ah, smell the difference? Hefty Ultra Strong has Arm & Hammer with continuous odor control, so no matter what's inside your trash, you can stay one step ahead of stinky. And for bigger jobs, try the superior strength of Hefty Large Black Bags.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
in another episode, we've got Noah Averbach-Katz for a really good conversation. We also have the author, Dr. Una McCormick, to come on and talk about the novel Wonderlands, which bridges the gap in between episodes 1 and 2 of season 3. So, Ashley, we are about to go to Black Alert. Tell me, are you ready to jump?
I'm ready. Let's jump.
Here we go. That Hope Is You, Part 1. Quick recap here. After traveling to the future to protect very sensitive information from an evil artificial entity known as Control, Michael Burnham arrives in the year 3188 and she crash lands on this planet. And it's this brilliant scene. Red Angel suit falls out of the sky, crash lands, boom. And then she, of course, because they have inertial dampeners and stabilizers built within the suits. We know this because we're Star Trek people. Of course it would, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she lands, she checks, she finds out she was successful. There's intelligent life all around her. Very happy moment. The big scream, yes! You see that big, classic Hollywood award-winning smile from Sonequa Martin Green. And we come to learn throughout the episode that the galaxy is now disconnected and no longer does the United Federation of Planets, really exist. And she can't seem to figure out why. She's like, where am I? What happened? Like, there's people here, but where are my people? Where's my ship? There's a lot to unpack. And That Hope Is You, Part 1, also introduces us to the character of Cleveland Booker. Ashley, help me through this.
All right. So, man, I love Book. Book is just a great character. He's so interesting because he seems like, he's a courier, so you're like, he might be a little shady, but then he ends up helping Michael after first trying to hand her over and
Oh, of course.
because he's like, I don't know about you, Rocket Girl, you just hit my spaceship. That's sus. Fair, but anyway, that whole scene was just really entertaining to me, especially when they give Michael the whatever drug they gave her.
Oh yeah. He like tromps her through this trading facility, this market like entity, and it's and forgive me, I know other Star Trek fans would probably want to tar and feather me for saying this, but definitely some big Star Wars vibes in that free trade market, right? Where you have these weird alien creatures and different costumes and different sets and everything, and they're all just kind of like they turn and they watch as they see Book and Burnham move on. Tell me about the burn. We hear it for the first time from Cleveland Booker, and it's something that takes us aback a little bit.
Yeah, so the burn is something that took place many years prior, in this particular time. Um, nearly all the dilithium within the Federation just kind of spontaneously combusted, destroyed a lot of ships, caused a lot of damage, um, crippled the Federation's reach because they now had no way really to explore strange new worlds and seek out new life and new civilizations. And they had no way to boldly go where no one had gone before because all of their ships are powered by dilithium, and you can only go so far without dilithium.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't have faster than light travel, it would take weeks, months, years to reach the places you wish to go. So shenanigans ensue. Burnham and Book have to escape this trade market, and this is their coming together moment where, yes, of course, they're butting heads. They're two very, very big alpha personalities who just want to do the right thing. And, Burnham is fish out of water. She's Alice in Wonderland. She went down the rabbit hole and she's disappeared into this new world that she doesn't fully understand. So she's trying to do the right thing by her standards, and so is Book. And that's a really fun dynamic that enters into the entirety of season 3.
Right. Yeah. So, go ahead.
So then we come to episode 2, Far From Home, which picks us up on the other half of this opening story. Because not only did you have Burnham go to the future in the Red Angel suit, you also had the Starship Discovery chasing after Burnham in the Red Angel suit. So you had the person and you had the ship. And we went through this crazy wormhole. And as wormholes do, they're not perfect, right? Only one wormhole that we know of was actually stable, right?
Right.
So this one happened to spit out the Discovery almost a year later.
Yes. And that was pretty hard on Michael. She, she was watching, looking every day, but on some level, she also had to accept that she may never see the Discovery again. And that's hard.
She had to let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's difficult. She and Tilly have this really wonderful conversation once they, finally are able to calm down. Is this in episode 2 still, or is that was in
Yep.
episode 3?
Yep.
Yeah. They they're finally able to take a minute and talk, and Tilly acknowledges, "Hey, you had to let us go."
Yeah.
And Michael doesn't want to say that out loud. So they start talking about cake, and cake is eternal.
Cake is eternal.
Words of wisdom from Michael Burnham. That is
Words
100%
of wisdom.
true.
Far From Home, I think, is still remains one of my favorite episodes of season 3. It is a classic Star Trek episode through and through. You have Discovery crash landing on this ice planet, and the ice is toxic. It's a parasite of some kind. And it tries to eat the starship as they're crashed in the ice. And as the ice eats away, it also traps the ship even more and more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to leave the ship and get help. And there's an away mission. And we have Captain Saru and Ensign Sylvia Tully, who go out to a nearby settlement to get the resources that they need. And on the way, they discover on their journey, as happens in the Star Trek world, that these poor miners are being oppressed and taken advantage of by a courier, believe it or not, by the name of Zara, who comes back later. So the miners tell the story about how, Zara comes and he takes and he takes and he takes and he promises protection, but he gives very little. But unfortunately, Zara, as a courier, is their only way to communicate off world and to communicate with their families and get the supplies that they need. So it's a very unfortunate situation where these poor miners are being absolutely taken advantage of. So when we arrive at this settlement, the doors, I mean, it's a saloon. It's exactly what it is. It's a saloon. Saru throws open the door, and you've got the silhouette of this Kelpian captain and his very faithful ensign Sylvia Tully there. And it's just a wonderful scene that results where Saru and Tilly realize that they're not where they think they are, and things aren't what they thought they would find.
Yeah, yeah. And so I actually I skipped ahead a little bit. That little conversation I referenced was actually in episode 3, not in episode 2. But the walk to the saloon where Saru tells Tilly, "Hey," she's like, "Well, why did you pick me? I'm you could have picked an engineer. You could have picked
Mm-hmm.
all these other people." And he says, "You, Sylvia Tilly, are a great first impression." And I cried.
Oh, yes.
Hit me in the feels. But so they're in this saloon. They're about to face Zara.
Yep.
He's coming in. And lo, we've got our dark horse riding in. We've got Philippa Georgiou coming in clutch. And I don't know about you. I didn't have a lot of familiarity with Michelle Yeoh other than Crazy Rich Asians.
Uh-huh.
I never watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I never watched the James Bond movie that she was in. So my mental image of her is the mom in Crazy Rich Asians. And here she comes in and she just blows everybody away
single-handedly.
And I'm like, what is this? It was really exciting and like kind of terrifying to watch.
And what's really interesting about that is Saru is really trying the diplomatic approach. He's really like, no, we're Starfleet. We can talk this out. We can do this. And Michelle Yeoh as Empress Georgiou comes in. She's like, this ain't gonna work. This is a real bad guy, and you need a real bad guy to take care of it. And she did.
She did. You know, I mean, it's hard to argue with the results sometimes.
But that comes back to bite them later, which we'll get into.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the episode, of course, we prevail and we get the resources that we need to get back to the ship, and so we get back to the Discovery, and it's being drowned by the parasitic ice. But then out of nowhere comes another starship which lifts the Discovery out of the ice, and that is the moment when we learn that Burnham is safe. She's alive. She's found the Discovery. She's with Cleveland Booker, and that is when we have that big smiley happy hug moment.
Yes. The Michael's on the view screen. He says, "I've been waiting for you all this time," and I'm like, it's so wonderful.
In episode 3, People of Earth, this is another great episode because this is when we reunite our heroes together. Michael Burnham is reunited with her ship, the USS Discovery. Cleveland Booker takes his ship on board. They park it in the shuttle bay. And there's definitely a reunion. You know, there's that big moment of, we missed you, you've been gone. And for Michael, it's been almost a year. And for the crew of the Discovery, it's been hours, a day, 2 days, maybe?
Yeah, not that long.
Not that long. And that's when you said, Tilly pulls Michael aside. I was like, hey, you had to let us go. You had to do what you had to do to live out here. And I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Over some cake. So,
over some cake, because cake is eternal.
One thing we didn't touch on in episode 1 is Aditya Sahil, who is the Federation liaison that Michael comes to meet at the end of episode 1. And episode 1 actually opens with the introduction of him as a character, although we don't know really who he is at the moment, other than he seems to be alone on a space station. And the crux of that is that Sahil can't locate any other Federation ships outside of 2 vessels that are just doing supply runs. So his advice to Michael is like, keep looking, you have to keep looking. And so without any real guidance, where do you go? You have to go back to where it all began, Earth.
Yep. Yeah, so here in episode 3, we've got this conversation about, well, how are we going to do this now? Like, how do we make contact with what may remain of the Federation? How do we deal with the burn? You've got a lot of different challenges. So we make our way back to Earth. Is that right?
Yep.
And we find out Earth is not what it used to be.
Not very welcoming.
No. They're all like, basically, get out of Dodge. Which is surprising.
Yeah. We have a new organization has essentially supplanted the Federation by the name of the Earth Defense Force, the EDF. Mm-hmm. And when they come on the view screen, they're like, we're not open for business. We're not seeking visitors at this point in time. No solicitors. Please remove all your belongings or you will be shot.
Yep.
Very unfriendly stuff. Yeah. So not at all the welcome that the crew of the Discovery from a Earth-based interplanetary coalition would expect.
No, especially not when, they received this message from an Admiral Tall from the Federation, and they were anticipating maybe finding him, and that was not the case.
Yeah, it's interesting. Burnham locates as she's working with Book. She becomes a courier. And quick shout out to one of my previous episodes with Dr. Una McCormick, where we dive into Star Trek Discovery Wonderlands, the novel. It's a quick read, very good, and it really fills in that gap of what happened in between that year and what Michael did in that time period while waiting for Discovery to arrive. And it also really unpacks like the uncertainty that the Discovery would never arrive and what would she do then. So really good stuff. And then you learn a little bit more about Admiral Tal and how she came across the message. Really good stuff. So dilithium is a resource that is very highly valued now. And Discovery, having come from the 23rd century.
Yes, I believe that's right.
Yeah. I always get them mixed up a little bit.
Yeah. 23rd is original series era, so yeah.
Right. So coming from the 23rd century, they do have a supply of dilithium, and they have to store it safely and keep it safe. So Burnham definitely suggests like, hey, let's store it on Cleveland Booker's ship, and it will be safe there. And so Burnham suggests leaving the dilithium on board on board Booker's ship, and everyone says, no, that's a terrible idea. This is our dilithium. What are you doing? This is a bad idea. Well, come to find out, there are some bandits on their way to Earth because they noticed the new warp signature from the Discovery, and they think, oh, well, there must be dilithium if there's another starship in orbit that we didn't notice. So some bandits come to Earth. There's a firefight. There's a shootout. Long story short, come to find out that these bandits are actually abandoned humans from the moon of Saturn, and it was a mining colony out off of Saturn, and they were abandoned, and for all these years they had to fend for themselves because Earth left them to die, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so we're about to have this knockdown drag out fight. The only way to get them to talk is to do some what I termed thrill heroics, to borrow a term from Fireflies, to do some thrill heroics.
Ooh, love it.
Yeah. So Michael and Book just kind of go AWOL. AWOL's not the right word, but they shirk instruction from Saru to not engage. But they take a gamble that they know Discovery is going to take that hit before they.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lose Booker's ship. So this forces talks with Captain I'm gonna butcher that name. I'm so sorry. The captain of the United Earth Defense Force, Captain Nidoye, and Wynn, the dilithium pirate leader.
Yes.
And then we're in for a little surprise, because whenever Wynn is shown on screen, he's wearing like this big helmet mask thingy, speaking like in a really gruff, modulated voice, and then he pulls off his helmet, and you find, no, this is actually a human.
He is a human.
He is a humanoid person. But find out that the reason he's been doing this is because he was on, I want to say it was at Titan. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep. He was on Titan. And they had a big tragedy. They needed supplies, but when they approached Earth, they weren't even given an opportunity to ask. They were shot down, and so they're like, "Well, if this is how things are, this is what we have to do to survive."
Yeah.
And you've got this maybe a little simplistic. I'll offer that critique that maybe it's a little simplistic, but it's this idea that maybe you want the same thing as the person that you're railing against, and you just need to talk about it and figure out how can we work this out together versus making an us versus them situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This episode also introduces us to a new crew member, Adira Tal.
Adira Tal. Yeah.
We're going to learn more about her in the next episode, episode 4, Forget Me Not.
Get me not.
And we come to find out that Adira Tal, she is a human. However, she has, believe it or not, Admiral Senatal's Trill symbiont. Turns out Admiral Senatal was a Trill. And, folks, if you're listening, you know who a Trill is. Awesome. If you don't, that's okay. We're going to briefly unpack that. The Trill are a symbiotic species wherein they have a symbiont, and then they have a physical person who hosts the symbiont. And the two entities align. It is a very special, very privileged process. And a Trill symbiont can live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years as a result, containing all the memories of their previous host. Doesn't feel like the right term, considering it's literally a symbiotic relationship, but that is what it is. So a Trill has never been attached to a human before. So this is a brand new development in the world of Star Trek.
Well, not to be pedantic, but in that one episode of Next Gen, Riker does host a Trill very briefly, but only until an appropriate host can be found, and then he gives it right back. So, but there has never been a long-standing human Trill joining.
Perfect.
So this is a big deal, and not everybody on Trill is thrilled with that.
No.
In fact, Adira is referred to as an abomination.
Yikes.
By some, and that's pretty harsh.
That's kind of racist.
Abomination is not a word you hear real often on Star Trek,
Yeah.
especially not in that context. So
yeah. The Trill are no longer a part of the Federation, but they're excited to welcome the Discovery due to their need for, you guessed it, new hosts. Apparently, the burn, when it blew up, all their symbionts and Trill who were capable of hosting also blew up with them. For it's a little morbid to say it that way, but that is what it is. And the Trill are in a really weird place. They withdrew from the Federation, and they became very insular as a society as a result. And a lot of them refuse to believe that a non-Trill could host a symbiont. And so, as you said, Adira is turned away. Turns out that there's a group of Trill who attempt, of course, a group of Trill is going to attempt to kill them and just take the Tal symbiont. But Burnham stops them, and a friendly Trill actually helps them and guides them to the caves of Makala.
in these caves, Adira is able to connect with all the previous hosts of Tal. So but this process is not, it's not just a manner of connecting them. It's also the way that Adira becomes an accepted host by all the previous hosts of Tal. So you get to meet Senna Tal, who's the host that we were looking for, the Starfleet admiral. We also get to meet Gray Tall, who's going to become very important a little later.
Mm-hmm.
Gray being Adira's boyfriend, who died tragically, and in order to save the symbiote, Adira had to act as the emergency host because there wasn't another Trill
Mm-hmm.
available. So you've got that interesting scene, and we've only really seen something like this once previously in DS9.
Mm-hmm.
So this was really fascinating to get to watch. Um, I guess maybe a more modern take on um, the joining process.
Yeah, we don't really get a whole lot of Trill throughout the Next Generation, and although DS9 uh, Jax and Ezra.
Dax and
Wow,
Ezri.
Dax.
Jadzia Dax.
Jadzia Dax.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Oh, my brain was just like, oh,
You got a
we're just
Jadzia
gonna...
and an Ezri.
Yes. So we get a little bit of the background, but we don't really get the deep dive, right?
Right.
And so this episode finally gave us a deep dive on the Trill homeworld, and they gave us some really beautiful visuals. There's really heart-wrenching moments in those caves when Adira is being accepted by the previous hosts. I mean, if you're not getting a little misty-eyed when you're watching that, then you're a Vulcan. It's a wonderful moment.
Yeah.
And then back on board the Starship Discovery, meanwhile, in the B plot of this episode, you've got some butting of heads because you've got some crew members who have gone through some trauma. They're all really frustrated, and they're all like, well, like we did this together, but I was the one who flew the ship through the wormhole, but I was the one who had to jump us from here and there. And so they're butting heads, and there's argument. And Captain Saru, he's a brand new captain, captained basically by, given the captaincy by his own crew because he was never officially promoted to the position. And he's trying to bring them together. He's attempting to improve the morale of the crew. And it's one of those things where when you have a team in a high stress environment, constantly pushing, and never getting a break, something's going to crack, right?
Yeah.
And so you start to see the shields come down around people.
Yeah. I in my review of that episode, I termed the one scene where Saru invites everyone to a dinner to celebrate all of it, and it's like, well, this is the Thanksgiving episode.
You got it right.
Yeah. I mean, and and it aired like a couple weeks before Thanksgiving last year, but I'm like, this is evoking like a dysfunctional family Thanksgiving dinner, and you've got crazy Aunt Philippa saying, well, at least the wine was good before she left. I was like, and Tilly's like, this is a normal Tuesday at my house. I'm like, oh dang.
Yep. Yep, that one line unpacked a lot about Tilly, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, watching the crew go from like, I'm ready to slug you, versus you know, finally able to decompress a little bit by watching
Yes.
some Buster Keaton.
Episode 5 is titled Die Trying, which is an interesting title for this episode. So episode 5, we finally get home to the Federation. We've been looking all this time. We've been following these signals. And when Adira is able to connect with her previous hosts, she's able to connect with Admiral Senetal, who gives her the coordinates to the Federation Starfleet headquarters. And that is when the Discovery finally finds its home, and we are treated to some absolutely stunning visuals, stunning flybys. We get, all that beautiful starship porn that everybody loves to watch.
Yeah. We spoke a little earlier about the seeing the new Voyager, but
Oh yeah.
you might be a Vulcan if you didn't get a little choked up when you saw the USS Nog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, That was
Yeah,
so
that
great.
was that was definitely a moment, and well deserved. Well deserved. We finally meet the commander in chief, Admiral Charles Vance, who immediately is not having any of this, right? Like he's seen too much.
Mm-hmm.
He's not here for some happy hunky dory reunion, and he's sacrificing his own life with his family and trying to live in order to rebuild some remnant of Starfleet.
The Discovery has, made it through impossible odds, and he's having a hard time believing it. Well, there's no records. Well, yeah, of course there are no records. There's under threat of perjury. Like,
Hmm.
um, this is this is big deal. It was a big deal, top secret mission, and nobody was allowed to say anything ever.
I,
And
I mean, those secrets that worked. I mean,
hmm
whew. I mean,
so
nobody knows anything about the Discovery. They're like, who the heck are you guys? Where you
yeah,
been? What
yeah,
is your uniform?
yeah. So I mean, you're you're kind of put Vance is put in this position. Well, these people could do great harm, or they could help us, and he's very very cautiously takes that gamble.
He does, doesn't he? He sends them on a very particular mission. So, what's happening at the Starfleet headquarters? There seems to be, this is very on the nose for our current era. There's a health crisis. There's a pandemic, right? And it can only be solved by going to a seed ship out in a distant nebula. And of course, because the Discovery has the spore drive, they could just jump, just go, and they'll be there instantaneously, right?
Right.
So there's no warp drive. They can't get to these seeds. Discovery comes in. They have the answer. We're going to send the ship. We're going to send Captain Saru. We're going to send Commander Burnham. And you're also going to go with one of my own liaisons to watch over you and see how you perform as a crew and make sure you are who you say you are.
hmm
So he goes through the logs, and this all happens off screen, of course, but he goes through their logs. He goes through all their mission command logs. They go through the personal logs and just unpacks everything. And he's about to reassign every crew member and be like, we need to deconstruct the Discovery. We need to take apart the spore drive. We need to learn how it works. And it takes Saru and Burnham to be like, no, 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 you can't do that. We got to stay together. We are who we are. Like, send us out. You can trust us. Please, please believe in us. And so, so he sends them all the way to the USS Tikov, where they find that the occupants of the seed ship, whose mission it is to care for the seeds. I'm not a botanist, so I couldn't tell you what's involved, but I trust that they're watering the plants on a daily basis, and now they're not being watered. So what's going on here? We got to figure this out. It's a mission, and the species that's on board the seed ship is Barzan, and we have a crew member by the name of Security Officer Nan, who's
Mhm.
also Barzan.
She's interested to go because these are her people. This is the first time she's seen anyone from Barzan in, you know, years. She wants to find out what they're like now. Um, so you've got that dynamic. Um, somebody from Barzan looking to interface with other people from, the current day Barzan. So that's really challenging. But then they get there and they find, yeah, they're dead.
It's a really sad moment
Yeah.
because a recurring theme throughout this season is loss, and leaving behind that which you love the most. So in this episode, we lose a cast member. Commander Nan decides to stay aboard the seed ship to fulfill her people's duty to watch over this ship
hmm
until the next crew member comes. So it's a sad moment. Discovery does return to Starfleet with the seeds and the antidote for the health crisis. And as a result of this, Admiral Vance agrees that the Discovery crew can, in fact, remain as they are, but they have to answer directly to him and nobody else.
Mm.
And at the same time, while we're on the seed ship, we discover a little musical melody, which unlocks a clue.
A clue.
So this clue leads us to, oh gosh, it's a distress signal. Ultimately, that's what it turns out to be. But Burnham remembers hearing this as being a lullaby being sang by some kids on her journey. So she remembers it as a lullaby. She remembers it as a song, and here this musical melody is again being played as a lullaby in a holographic recording of the Barzan family. And it's a really sad moment. And I remember when I first watched this, and in this episode's breakdown, if folks you want to go back and listen to the episode, Ian and I both pick apart the fact that this was very, very Battlestar Galactica. Like, hey, come on now, a musical melody specifically leading you on a quest. Come on.
That occurred to me as well.
Oh man, do you want to tell us a little bit about the episode Scavengers? This is where we get the Discovery fully upgraded to future technology, including the programmable matter. And we've got, Admiral Vance is sending ships on various missions across Federation space, what remains of it. And the Discovery has to stay at Starfleet HQ for any rapid response type missions.
Yeah, so Scavengers, we've got a few different things going on. It's pretty important. So, Book has taken his leave of the Discovery, but in a previous episode, I believe. But suddenly, the Discovery runs into Book's ship, and
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
On screen, who's to answer the phone? But Grudge. We haven't mentioned Grudge yet. Grudge is the best. I have cat. I love cats. Team Grudge all the way. Grudge for president. Grudge for everything. It's great.
Now, is Grudge a cat or is Grudge a quote unquote cat?
She's a queen. Let's be clear. She's a queen. I think she's just a really delightful, huge cat, and I love her.
I love that we have like a pet on the ship. It's so great.
It's so nice. So nice. Anyway, so we get a recorded message from Book saying that if he had not returned to the ship by a certain time, he had set his ship to home in on the Discovery and to deliver this distress signal. So we find out that Book has been taken at this planet, whose name is escaping me. Do you happen to remember the name of the planet they're at?
Oh, I can't remember the name of the planet, but yeah. I vaguely recall it being like Hun something. Hun who?
Sure.
Yeah, it could be.
Anyway, so
all these planets kind of just mesh together at some point.
Yeah. So we find out that Book has been taken captive on this planet because it is it's a prison camp basically, and it is run by the Emerald Chain. And so I don't remember, have we gotten echoes of the Emerald Chain prior to this? Yeah.
We have. There have been some comments. There have been a few elements from episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But not necessarily any detail. So this is the first time we're really getting to see and hear what they're all about.
So we've got the Emerald Chain that's run by Orions, particularly one big bad Orion who's yet to be revealed. But her nephew is running the prison camp.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Nepotism, baby.
Yeah, that's how we do things in the Emerald Chain. So we've got this nephew who's running the show there, and he's a pretty cruel taskmaster, excuse me. So in order to rescue Book, Michael and Giorgio take off in they use Book ship, correct?
They use Book ship, yes. They wanted to use a Discovery for obvious reasons, a spore drive. They get there very quickly.
Right.
However, Admiral Vance was very particular about staying home.
Yeah, and Saru's not even willing to put this in front of Vance, because like, well, you're going after one person, you might draw the ire of the Emerald Chain. This is bad news. This is a bad idea. We're not, unfortunately, we can't do it.
Yeah, it's an order.
And that's an order.
Yeah.
And Michael's year apart from Starfleet is starting to show, as well as her feelings for Book as well, and so she ain't gonna leave him hanging. So she solicits the aid of the one person who would not mind handling a off the record mission, and that would be Giorgio. So they take off and go to rescue Book, and Giorgio gets to channel her inner Empress.
Love it.
Walking in, talking smack to anybody who challenges her, and she basically is in her zone, being the Empress and bossing people around, and using her bravado to help them to get what they need, to one, rescue Book, but two, get some information about the Emerald Chain. There's like it's a black box or something.
Yes.
That Book has gotten a hold of and has hidden in his quarters. So Michael's able to get that, and they rescue Book, and then somebody else escapes with them as well. This is our introduction to Nova Averbach-Kax's character, Rin the Andorian.
Rin the Andorian.
Yeah.
He's got a wonderful story of how he was being cast. He was reading actually for a Vulcan character. He was reading for the character of Spock in season 2, but they put in an Andorian name, and you'll just have to go listen to that episode if you really want to know the story, because I don't do it half justice. But there's some very funny moments there. And then when he came back finally as an Andorian, he was like, "This is who I was always meant to be."
I want him to be Jeffrey Combs 2.0 and just show up in different iterations. Other people have thrown that around, but I think it's a brilliant idea.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, it's a great moment. There's this huge prison break, and it's a classic action scene. You've got lots of phasers. You've got lots of pew pew going on. You've got Book's ship comes in, and you get to see what it's really capable of, where it separates into different parts. And that was just so cool.
Yeah, it was a great prison break scene. I loved it. It was wonderful.
It really is. And we get Book back. We rescue the Andorian Rin, who has a lot of detailed information that he can give up about the Emerald Chain, which is why it's so important that he came along, because he was their bookkeeper, essentially. So he kind of knows a lot of secrets.
Right. Yeah. So he's definitely, he's got the deets on this on the Emerald Chain.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a worthy mission. right? And
Mhm.
when you look at it, you're like, yes, this was ultimately it was a good thing that we did this and we got a lot of value out of it and we got a lot of information that we didn't otherwise have. However, Michael Burnham, first officer of Discovery, kind of broke some rules by doing that. And when you are in Starfleet and you're in a command hierarchy and you are going against not just your captain, but your admiral, well, then something's got to happen.
And so, Michael is stripped of her rank as first officer.
Woo.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it says a little bit about how Michael has changed in some ways when she's all like, I would rather regret something I did than something I didn't.
Yeah.
Um, and um, that's really telling. But then after that, we get this finally like, oh, they kissed moment.
Finally.
Finally, I mean,
Freaking finally.
if you didn't see that coming, there it is. I mean, to be fair, they put it in the trailer. So you knew it was gonna happen. I'm like, don't blow every detail in the trailer, please, and thank you. But it was still very emotionally satisfying
Mm,
to see Book and Michael confess their love for one another. It was
yes.
delightful.
And the chemistry between them is so rewarding.
It really is. It really
Like,
is. They are a good
like
pair.
I know they're both involved, but
Hmm. Yep.
hey, this is kind of hot, you guys. Oh man, Unification 3 is episode 7, and it's highly regarded as one of the most prolific episodes of this particular season because it is a direct sequel in many ways to Unification Parts 1 and 2 from Star Trek The Next Generation. Ashley, have you ever heard of a sequel coming like 30 years later in TV?
Um, Only within the Star Trek universe, at least that I remember. Um, so we've got parts 1 and 2, and those episodes had slipped my mind because it'd been so long since I had watched Next Gen all the way through. So I was like, Unification 3. Wait a minute, we haven't had Unification 1 and 2 in this series. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, that one. I remember that one now. Okay, so getting the harkening back to that, I thought was a
Mm,
really nice touch. Also making that connection between older Spock and Michael, who's now
yeah,
in the future, and her brother is long gone.
right.
So just having that connection was really, I think, really powerful, and just a really great way to use existing material. One of the things that I feel like Discovery struggled against was um having to feel like butt up against existing timelines and existing
Right.
canon, and in some ways feeling like they have to retcon themselves within to the Star Trek story. Now they don't have to do that, but that was a really cool way to tie it back to existing canon. I thought that was just brilliantly done.
Yeah, it was really well done. And when they played the original theme behind that image of holographic Leonard Nimoy as Spock,
Oh, I
that
cried.
was, that's such a love letter to fans. It's such a love letter to Nimoy himself and to everyone who's worked on Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah, that was just very, very well done.
Yeah. The episode itself kicks off with Burnham realizing that she can locate the source of the burn with some very specific data from a project, which was a possible space travel alternative developed by the unified Vulcan and Romulan people on the newly named planet Navarre, formerly Vulcan. So Burnham theorizes that something happened in this project that may or may not have caused the burn, and as such, the new unified peoples do not want to give the data. So it's like, hey, do we go and get it? Like, we need to figure this out. We can solve it. Perhaps, reinitialize a new project wherein we can create a new means of transportation. What might happen? Either way, we gotta go there. We gotta jump. Black alert.
Interesting things happening with this. Um, you've got some interpersonal stuff. You've got, the consummation of Book and Michael's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this positive female friendship between Tilly and Michael, where Tilly's able to kind of air some of her grievances, saying, "You know what? Um, I wanted, you chose not to tell me, um, and I did the only thing I could do, because what if you hadn't come back? What if you had gotten hurt? Like, I had to do this." And the Tilly kept, the one line that really stuck with me. She's like, "It was my choice, not yours."
Mm.
And that was really cool. I really loved that.
Yeah, that's when she's dressing down Michael for taking off without
Yeah,
telling anybody, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, we've already touched a little bit on Spock and the connection back to Unification 1 and 2. But Michael, you know, when she's trying to get this information, she invokes the to call and Ket.
Yes. A Vulcan trial
Yeah.
to prove the truth.
This is effectively a dissertation defense. Is what it a dissertation defense with really high stakes is, to me, is what it looked like. But we get the Kuat Malat, which which we'd only previously seen in Star Trek Picard. So I was really excited to see that particular aspect make its way into Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
But not only do we get the Kuat Malat, we get Michael's mom, who is now a Kuat Malat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So astute viewers of season 2 will remember that Michael's mom, Gabrielle, was snapped back to her starting position due to timey-wimey shenanigans and things and wormholes and stuff happening, and the Red Angel suit just doing its thing. So her mom was snapped back to the future, and Michael thought she would be at a specific location. She was not, and so she thought she was lost. Turns out that Michael's mother, Gabrielle Burnham, was picked up by the Kuat Malat, the Romulan warrior nun group, and has signed up. Like, hey, I got to do something while I'm here. I may as well hang out with these wonderful ladies.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love the Kuat Malat. I think they're such an interesting addition to the Star Trek universe.
Yes.
But so Dr. Burnham is assigned to be Michael's advocate, her chassette, which is effectively her lawyer in this very high stakes dissertation defense. And if you're unfamiliar with the Kuat Malat, the one defining characteristic they have is they abide by the principle of absolute candor, meaning they say what is exactly on their minds. They do not beat around the bush. They do not soften the blow. They do not lie. They speak with absolute candor. They say, exactly what they mean, and they're telling the truth. I personally love that.
Yeah.
As someone who's not great at hiding her feelings or
same.
I don't lie. I don't like lying. I'm not going to do it. So if nothing else, you can count on me for an honest answer, and you may or may not like it. But I really love that about the Kuat Malat. So that is an interesting thing, because she is able to call this trial like she sees it. She's like, Michael is afraid of this, and she's like, Mom, stop. Just her own variation of Mom, stop. um but you know, it's this interesting um thing that she is able to bring out, is this cultural duality that Michael has between her human upbringing and her Vulcan upbringing. So
Yes.
it's
And
really,
she also calls into question Michael's allegiances to Starfleet as well,
hmm
as she very correctly begins to uncover, you know, all of the conflict within Michael about her own self being on board the Discovery and not being with Book and having been demoted and trying to solve this problem and trying to fit in and yet still trying to save everybody and everything all the time, and that personal responsibility that Michael feels. And of course,
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
like only a mother can, you know, Gabrielle calls all this out and just like drags it to the surface, and everyone's there like, ooh, taken aback. You know, we're not sure how to go about this. And what I found really interesting in this episode is you have a unified Vulcan Romulan society. And so you have the president, Tarina, who is the head of the society, but she's flanked by a true Romulan and she's flanked by a traditional Vulcan, who both come at it with their own points of view, and they don't want to give up this data set of the Project SB-19, of their alternative to warp travel. They don't want to give up this information, and they don't want to give it up because they're a little ashamed by it. They feel like they failed the Federation, and they don't think that they caused the burn, but you know, it's like, what's this data going to do for anybody? Like, it's not going to help, and it went nowhere. It's a dead end, and it's our project. So no, we're not going to give it up because we're not part of the Federation anymore. We don't owe you anything. So why should we? But as a result of Gabrielle and Michael's interactions, the Vulcan president, the Navarre president, says, you know what? I'll give it to you.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines in that that trial is, Vulcans call anything they don't like illogical.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that line.
and I don't know about you, but I mean, because I love Spock so much, oftentimes when you have Vulcans in a Star Trek setting, I mean, not that you're not going to have Vulcans in other places, but you know, when a Vulcan is on screen, they tend to be pretty reliable narrators. You don't think you think they're able to be truly objective when you know, the Romulan calls him out and like, actually, no. Vulcans aren't always logical. Sometimes they deem things illogical because it doesn't suit their ends, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You mean, you know, they're not like any other person on this planet or in this universe that, you know, has bias. Everybody has bias. Let's just admit it. So anyway, I just thought that was fun.
Oh, you're bang on.
Yeah. So
I think one of my favorite moments in this episode, before we move on to the next, is at the end, where we have Captain Saru and the Navarre president share a moment, you know, and I really hope we don't have any confirmation otherwise. But I really do hope that, it seemed like there might be a relationship potential there, little love
It definitely
story.
crossed my mind as well. If nothing else, they seem to connect with one another in I they definitely vibed. So it
Oh,
was
for
cool.
sure. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it. Please, more of that.
Yeah. Also, can I say the affirmation of Sylvia Tilly? Again,
Oh, yes. Please. Yeah.
I feel like I watched every episode of Star Trek Discovery last season and cried in almost every single one, for different reasons. But um, just watching uh, Tilly, we have her in the first season. She's like, not a lot of people know this, but I'm going to be a captain someday. Um, and even me who loves Tilly deeply, it was all like, are you sure about that? I don't know. But then we get to season 3, and she's made acting first officer, and
Yes.
she's unsure about it. But when Paul says, just say yes, and she gets the affirmation not only of Saru but of the rest of the crew as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just, that was just so affirming to me. I don't know. I don't know. I maybe because I see a lot of myself in Tilly.
Sure.
That to me it was very emotionally impactful, and I love that.
I really hated the controversy that came out of that decision in the fandom, where fans kind of split on giving her the acting first officer role. It's like, well, first of all, she's an ensign. She's on the command track. We know this already. Why wouldn't she be made acting first officer in the absence of, Captain Saru clearly sees potential. He clearly sees that she has an opportunity here to shine and to grow and to take the reins, every once in a while. So it made perfect sense to me. And, Tilly is wonderful on screen, and it just gave her an opportunity to shine.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that. And I think also Saru is a very different sort of captain.
He really is.
He really embodies what I think about when I hear the phrase servant leadership.
Mm.
He's not just a captain, he's also a teacher and a mentor.
Hmm.
Um so uh watching him, work very well in the captain's chair. He takes to command with he has that like aplomb of Picard. He's
Mm-hmm.
very diplomatic. Um, he's very by the books, like Janeway. Um, but he also is very gentle and kind, and you don't always get to do that from the captain's chair. I think he leans into a more emotional side of leadership. Um, One that not all captains have been ready to embrace, because you know someday you might have to send your friend to die. um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Saru is willing to not only lead but also like walk alongside his crew, not just walk in front of them but walk alongside them. And I just thought that was just, he's just such a different sort of captain, and just that kind of leadership is something I felt like was really needed. um, just not only on Star Trek, but just have an example of that kind of leadership out in the artistic cultural pantheon. um, something that I felt like society really needed. So
Yeah, that's a great observation.
yeah.
Star Trek very often reflects our society in many ways, and whether they touch on it in an overt kind of a way,
Hmm.
or if they're just kind of like bringing in metaphors and talking about, maybe climate change is a little bit at play here. Maybe, our reliance on fossil fuels is a little overly reliant. It's like sometimes a little
Mm-hmm.
heavy-handed, and sometimes it's a soft touch.
Yeah.
And I do think that your observation with Captain Saru and his style of leadership is a little bit of a soft touch. Like, we need more of this empathetic, more
Hmm.
more of that servant leadership, more of that, how can I help remove obstacles that are in your way?
Yeah.
The episode The Sanctuary, directed by none other than Jonathan Frakes. I love it. This is a great episode. It's action-packed. It's full of adventure. We get a lot of cool, running through an alien planet while being chased by bad guys and shot at kind of moments. Um, the crux here is that, Booker receives a distress signal from his brother on the planet of Sanctuary. And their home planet is called Quajan. Quajan.
Quajan, yeah.
Quajan.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's the sanctuary for all these displaced creatures from around the universe, and specifically trance worms. And in episode 1, we find the trance worm, and Molly. Book is rescuing the trance worm, and they're highly prized, and I guess they're super tasty, but I personally would not want to try that.
No, no.
So he receives a distress signal. Turns out that they are being threatened by the Emerald Chain. And there's a syndicate there led by none other than the big baddie herself, Osira. Okay, so turns out that the planet has a problem.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With locusts, following all these crazy, again, climate changes caused by the burn. So all these locusts are there, and they're terrorizing the crops and destroying them. And it seems like only the Emerald Chain has the repellent, the pesticide necessary to kill these locusts. And so, as despots normally do, Osira is basically trickling this pesticide to to the inhabitants of Quajan there, to get rid of these locusts to keep the food production going. So, of course, because Cleveland Booker was a prisoner just in 2 episodes ago, and he escaped. Now Cyrus like, let's put a little pressure here, and let's find out where this goes. And it works, because guess what? The Discovery jumps in to help the planet and to help Kahim, Book's brother. And, therein we have a fight going with Osira and her ship, and the Discovery and Booker's ship. And Discovery is like, we're staying out of the fight. We're staying out of the fight. But we are going to let one of our chief pilots take another ship to run a bombing run. And we have a great moment there with Lieutenant Detmer, who's been struggling with a PTSD trauma element. And then finally she's able to work through that, and kind of, she's able to succeed, and she does something good, and she feels good about that, and she's able to help recover and feel good about herself. And this episode is just like, I feel like if you're going to sit down and you're going to show someone an episode of Star Trek Discovery, this would be one of them.
It was really interesting just to see how some of these big themes for this season really played out in different ways. And one of the big themes for Discovery season 3 was definitely found family. The line that Book says of his brother, um, he says that his brother's not his biological sibling, but their relationship is something we said and we felt. And that's just if you want to turn me into a puddle of feels, make me watch something that has found family in it, and I'm just gonna cry and cry and cry, because apparently I can only cry at science fiction. I don't cry at anything else. Yeah, that was really cool there. But also in this episode, kind of the B plot. You talked a little bit about Detmer overcoming her PTSD. We get to know the rest of our bridge crew a little bit better. One of the critiques of Discovery is like, well, we really only know Michael and Tilly and Saru and Book, and that's it. We don't know a whole lot about Detmer or Owo or Reese or or Nielsen or Bryce or anybody else. So, um, just getting to um, see that kind of camaraderie around the cool kids table
Mm.
in the mess hall was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
There's some great stuff that happens in this episode, and at the end of it, Osira sees right through the ruse. She's not a dummy by any means. She very clearly has ascended to the throne of the Emerald Chain, and she's got this big, typically bad guy starship. It looks evil, it looks terrible, it looks mean, right? They very clearly did not have an architect on staff there when they were building that sucker. Osira sees right through the ruse, and she's like, okay, you guys ran this attack on me, you got what you wanted now, but guess what, now I'm gonna come for you, so I'm gonna retaliate. So enjoy your victory while it lasts, because it's not going to last that long.
Yeah, she was a great baddie. Um, yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't hold a candle to Giorgio, who
No.
features quite a bit in parts 1 and 2, Terra Firma, which we'll talk about next. But I do really like Osira, and I really did not like the finale, how they did her in.
Yeah. I think I would have liked to have seen more of her. Jenna Kidder is a great actress, and
Yeah.
I really want to watch more of her work now. Um, I personally just couldn't get over how much she looks like her aunt, Margot
I
Kidder.
know.
I was like, ooh, Lois Lane is an Orion.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But yeah, just, definitely a striking similarity there for sure.
I was really hoping that Osira would become like the next Gul Dukat and just be like a returning adversary for Burnham to run up against every so often.
That would be fun. That would
Yeah.
have been fun. So,
But
who knows? It's Star Trek. They can bring people back. We
that's
don't talk
true.
about how Lower
That's
Decks.
true. We
Showed
really
us
don't
that.
talk about how. Okay,
No,
you don't.
no. But who
If
knows?
anyone
We'll
wants
see.
to know what that means, you just got to ask Ensign Rutherford from Lower Decks.
Right.
Terra Firma parts 1 and 2. These episodes, I mean, I was about to say like, oh yeah, these episodes aired back to back, but parts 1 and 2, yeah, of course. But however, in this season, you have That Hope Is You Part 1 and That Hope Is You Part 2, which bookend the season as episodes 1 and 13. So got a little tricky with us.
They really played loose and dirty with all of that.
Unification Part 3.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you guys doing? You're tripping us up. This two-parter is just a truck ton of fun, and it's such a callback. The Guardian of Forever returns finally.
Yes. Yeah, it had been a really long time since I had seen City on the Edge of Forever, to the point that I had forgotten a lot of details other than the title. And I was talking with a friend who also obviously a big Star Trek fan, but I was like, dude, what do you think about that? And I was like, I think the guy might be a Q, and he's like, oh no, that's not what we're dealing with here.
Nope.
He's like, this is the Guardian of Forever. And so I went back and watched City on the Edge of Forever after we had that conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, of course, that makes so much more sense than a Q. But anyway, very fun. Love the callbacks.
The skipping over all the hubbub. Essentially, Giorgio has discovered that her genetic code is breaking down in this universe because she's so far removed, not just from her own universe, but now her own timeline as well. And as a result of this, her genetic code is starting to break down, and it's causing her tons of pain, and it's nasty, and she'll die a brutal death. And throughout the lead up to this revelation, we have one moment which I absolutely loved in this season, where they highlight a crew member from a alternate universe, which happened to be the Kelvin timeline. So they reference on screen the Kelvin timeline in this episode, which I absolutely loved. It felt like a big FU to all the Kelvin timeline haters out there. It was like, yeah, it's canon now. Deal with it. I loved it so much. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I really love that David Cronenberg is in this. I'm a big
Yes.
horror fan, and I think David Cronenberg is one of the smartest horror directors that has ever walked the planet. And so I'm just waiting for somebody to explode whenever he's on scene. So the fact that, like, you know, he's having this conversation with Giorgio, and like her molecules are literally breaking down. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get scanners. Here we go. Somebody's gonna drop a watermelon. It's gonna be great. But anyway, yeah. So just a little aside.
Yep. So we get we get to the mission here, and we have to get.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Empress Giorgio to go to this planet, and there's something on this planet, Danis 5, wherein it could potentially help save Giorgio. And so, you know, long story short, it turns out it's the Guardian of Forever by the name of Carl, who tells Giorgio that your time with Discovery has changed you, and you must use your knowledge of the past to alter events, and etc., 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 etc. And so we step through the doorway, and we go on a little journey back to the mirror universe.
We get back, and Giorgio walks out into her ship and is greeted by Captain Killy. And we get their little salute that is not unlike a Hail Hitler, and we get lots of shouts of all hail Empress Giorgio, terra firma, terra firma.
Yeah, she walks right back into it.
Yeah,
right back into it. These were really, like, as episodes themselves, I really enjoyed them. I thought it gave us a lot of insight and a lot of definition to the mirror universe that we didn't otherwise have. They have their own arts, they have their own culture. They're not just, I mean, yeah, they're evil and they're really evil people, but it made them less, I don't know. It made me hate them less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you you know, you at least understand a little better where they're coming from. And I mean, gosh, if that's not Star Trek, that's, I mean, you know, you develop empathy for people who don't think like you. And you know, you don't have to agree with how the mirror universe functions, or how the people in the mirror universe act, to you know, to understand why they act that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So all of that was really interesting. But also just to see how, like, Giorgio, you know, she still, you know, has this gruff bravado in the whatever you would call the not mirror universe, you know, the main timeline, prime universe. There we go, prime universe. But you know, we see how actually, no, she's softened up a little bit, and I don't mean that in a way that she has become weak, but she herself has developed empathy as well. Yeah.
Her time amongst the Discovery crew has indeed changed her, and while we may think that's for the better, in this particular universe, it's certainly for the worse. So it's one of those interesting dynamics where Giorgio is now coming back. She's going home to where she would feel most comfortable, you would think, but now she's the one who's fish out of water.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting twist on the fish out of water trope for sure.
It really is. It really is. There's some beautiful stuff in this two-parter, and it ultimately resolves where Giorgio reveals to Saru, who happens to be a slave in this universe, that the biological change known as Vihari, which convert is basically Kelpian puberty, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
It changes them from being meek, subservient types into very much alpha apex predators. And
Mhm.
so she says, like, hey, you think you're dying, but actually you're going through puberty. I'm going to let it happen. And here's why. And so then the rest of that episode takes over. And folks, I really implore you, if you want to hear a deep dive, to go check out those episodes, because we really pick it apart, and it's really enjoyable to get into that nitty gritty there. When we return to Danis 5 after the story concludes, where Giorgio kills Mirror Universe Burnham, who, by the way, Ashley, Mirror Universe Burnham, whew, what a kind of a smoke show. I mean, damn, did not know I was into that sort of thing.
She like, you can tell Sonequa Martin Green was having the time of her life, um playing Mirror Universe Burnham, because she's just like hamming up every single scene. She's so great.
Oh yeah, she's like full on evil, and like ear to ear evil grin, and it's just so enjoyable to watch someone who's so good at their job have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be like one of the highlights, were I ever to be in a Star Trek show. Let us pray. Um, um, I would have an absolute blast performing a mirror universe version of myself.
For me personally, I want to be a red shirt who dies an absolutely horrible death.
Oh
That
no.
that is my goal in life, to do that.
That's awesome.
But in the B plot here, where we are back on the Starship Discovery, when we are, it's a very short time. Book has taken some critical intel from the Emerald Chain, and they're able to use that to process some information that was missing. And it turns out that we're able to kind of dial in the location of where the source of the burn may be located inside the Verubin Nebula. And that's a pretty scary term, which we come to find out in the next episode, Su'Kal.
Su'Kal.
Su'Kal. And this is episode 11. It aired Christmas Eve 2020. So in this episode, Discovery detects a life sign on a starship located inside the Verubin Nebula. Now, the scary thing about the Verubin Nebula is it's super radioactive, like death immediate, and it completely destroys starships' navigational systems. It punches right through their shields. This is the ultimate in MacGuffins that could destroy any plot that you might want to have, because that's the barrier.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And
Mhm.
hey, that sucks for you guys. You got to figure out how to get through that. And no ship could render aid because they can't punch through that nebula. So they
Right.
can't find out. But turns out there might be a starship which has a different kind of transportation system that can get there. So of
How are we
course,
gonna do that?
we jump to the coordinates of the starship, and they theorize that the life sign that they detect could be the child of one of the starship's scientists. And it's important to mention that this starship happens to be of Kelpian origin. It's a Kelpian science vessel.
Not just to Saru for it being Kelpian, but it also says, wow, Kelpians really thrived once Saru figured out that the what is the name of Kelpian puberty?
The Vahari.
The Vahari. Thank you.
Yes.
Once the Vahari is a not something that
To be scared
means
of or
not
cold.
something to be afraid of. Yeah.
Right. The Kelpians were being culled by a predatory species. Yeah.
Hmm.
Before they entered Bahari, and that as a result kept the Kelpians as subservient and cattle. Basically, they were
Yeah.
treated as cattle.
Yeah.
Until Saru came along and rescued them.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just shows the progress of Kelpians in this new era. So that I think was really interesting, but also increased the personal significance for Saru as well, wanting to help his people.
And that becomes super important later on when we jump to their location. They're immediately about to crash into a planet, which is, when they scan it, it's made entirely of dilithium. This planet is dilithium inside this nebula.
Mm-hmm.
And so Saru takes an away team to the planet and leaves Tilly in command of the Discovery. So Saru, Burnham, and Culber transport, and on the planet they find themselves inside this starship, which is basically a holographic ship. And it's a very complex simulation designed by the remaining scientists to raise and protect the child whose life sign was detected. And the child's name is Sukal. And they discover that this child was born inside this nebula and so has adapted to the radioactivity. So while the away team is suffering, the child is not. And that's an interesting note. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what our away team finds inside this holographic simulation? Because you already touched on the horror elements, and I definitely felt that in this episode.
Yeah. So you've got some more thrill and heroics coming through in this episode, which I really enjoyed. The One of the things they find when they land on the dilithium planet is that in order to get to Sukal, they find out that they're in a simulation. So um, you've got Dr. Culber, who's there. You've got Michael, and you've got Saru. Well, Culber is now a Bajoran. You've got Michael, who did Michael turn? Anyway, but the big deal is that you've got Saru as a human.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you've seen a lot of Doug Jones' other work, but you never see Doug Jones acting as Doug Jones.
Doug Jones is a creature.
He is always some sort of critter or monster or ghost or zombie or alien. And so, I've had the privilege of meeting Doug Jones maybe about 5 or 6 years ago at a convention, and he is a super sweet guy. He's a really dapper dude. Like,
really is.
Yeah, like he's a snappy dresser. Like, he's really handsome, and you never see that on screen. So this is one of the very rare times you actually get to see Doug Jones acting as himself.
Yes.
And so that was really exciting and fun to see.
And he really gets to ham it up with Wilson Cruz and Sneeko Martin Green, because they both turn and look at him and they're astonished to see him as a human,
Yeah.
and it's such a moment, and they stand in for the audience too, because we're all like, oh my God, that's Doug Jones.
Yeah. That was really fun. I really, really enjoyed that part of the episode. I'm really glad they did that. That was an interesting choice too. Just to have them be out of their element.
Yes. Yes. So the holographic simulation changed their appearance in order for the child to be more accepting of who they are.
Right.
Which is interesting. And if you consider the fact that this is a Kelpian ship, why would you change a Kelpian Federation captain
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to think about that too hard because
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing Doug Jones.
Yeah, I'm willing to take it as is because that was really fun.
Yes.
But anyway, so they find out that Su'Kal's been existing in the simulation. He doesn't know anything of the outside world. He only knows what his tutors in the simulation have taught him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's learned a little bit about his heritage and culture and things like that. It's really fascinating to get to watch Saru try to interact with him, because in some way you see Saru learning about his own culture and how it's progressed now that they are no longer being culled. And you know, when he sees I'm blanking on the proper name for it, but the basically the old wise man figure
Right.
of Kelpian society. He's like, I've never seen a
The
Kelpian
elder.
this old. Yeah, he's basically the elder Kelpian. He's like, I've never seen a Kelpian this old.
He's only heard about them in stories, and it's such a tragic moment because Saru is having this realization of everything that he missed as a result of him jumping into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got this interesting dynamic of not only is Saru trying to coach Su'Kal into leaving, but also to for him having this bit of like culture shock in seeing what he missed, and I just thought that was really, really fascinating and kind of it just beautiful. Like it was beautiful, but it also made me ache a little bit. But we find that Su'Kal, when he gets frightened, can rattle, shake, rattle, and roll, for lack of better terminology. He his screams cause big explosions. They cause disruptions because of his mutated, adapted genetics that have allowed him to survive on this dilithium planet, have also given him some interesting telepathic abilities that ultimately we find out he is the source of the burn. His fear is the source of the burn.
Right. When reality, the simulation, the holographic simulation, has been degrading over the many years, and as a result of that, there's this creepy holographic monster which kind of represents this decay and this element of you need to leave now if you want to survive. So Su'Kal has the mentality of a child, essentially, even though he appears as a teenager. And Su'Kal unleashes, when he's confronted with this fear, he unleashes this guttural scream. And we theorize, and Captain Saru, and theorizes that this scream, the harmonic resonance of the mutated genes of this Kelpian who was born inside this nebula, combined with the resonance of the dilithium crystal, resulted in a chain reaction causing the burn. And it's corroborated with evidence from the black boxes that Burnham was looking for, which indicate that the burn did not happen at the exact same split second each time, but rather milliseconds apart, which indicated that there was a source, which indicated that there was a spread, and that even though it was seemingly instantaneous, it actually was not instantaneous, and the gap in between time got longer the further out the ships were. So a very interesting puzzle that the writers of this season gave us.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
In destroying dilithium and preventing folks for almost 100 years now. I think it was 80 years since the burn first started, to keep them from being able to travel and from being able to penetrate. On the B plot here, acting First Officer Tilly is in command of the Starship Discovery, and in order to protect the ship itself, she had to jump back out of the nebula away from the planet and station the ship outside the nebula, which of course attracts some unwanted attention in the form of an emerald chain vessel commanded by Osira. Osira is back. She's making good on her threat. We are going to retaliate. So Cleveland Booker flies into the nebula with his ship, and the ship is falling apart. They have to take radiation meds. He's got a stowaway. Adira Tal has stowed away on Book's ship to go rescue the away team. And so Book leaves with the ship. He leaves the Discovery. He gets to the planet, rescues everybody, tries to, except he only gets Burnham back. So he rescues Burnham, but Adira, Captain Saru, and Dr. Culber remain behind with Su'Kal. And they try to get back, but no dice. Acting First Officer Tilly, oh gosh, my poor girl. She kind of messed up a little bit. Discovery gets captured, and Osira is on her way with the Discovery, and they jump to Federation headquarters. And that leads us to probably my favorite episode, There Is a Tide. Also directed by Jonathan Frakes, written by Kenneth Lynn. And this episode, Ashley, I gotta tell you, the moment where Osira and Vance are sitting down over the apple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, what a phenomenal piece of writing that scene is.
Yeah. He's like, not too bad for being made of our shits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Osira has taken over the Discovery, and so she's kind of coercing Tilly to pretend like, oh, we're under attack by the Emerald Chain, and our communications are down. And so Vance, they don't know exactly what's going on. No one's responding to hails. Vance decides to let the ship through the Federation shields. So that kicks off the whole dynamic of Osira has sent Zara to kind of capture whoever's remaining. Burnham and Book escape the nebula, and they use a very perilous transwarp network to reach Federation headquarters. So, interesting thing about the burn is it destroyed dilithium, but you have alternative means of travel around the universe, around galactic solar systems, and so on. Solar sails, for example, are mentioned in Dr. Una McCormick's book Wonderlands. They talk about the transwarp network, and for listeners out there, the transwarp network, and Ashley, please jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but the transwarp network was initially built by the Borg.
Yes, that is something taken from Voyager, as how Voyager is able to get back in the finale. Yeah.
Yes. And these networks have essentially over the years, because no one's been keeping them updated, no one's been building them, or whatever has to be done to maintain the transwarp network. The node relays, as I recall from one book that I read a long time ago, they have to navigate, and inside these transwarp networks, we see it on screen, are other starships destroyed, shuttles destroyed, and debris and warp nacelles all spread out across. And so when they finally escape the transwarp network, they're there and they're in one piece. Oh my God, how did this happen? Let's never do this again. Yeah, definitely. Let's never do this again. This was terrible. That's when Zara, in command of the Emerald Chain vessel, captures them, and Book is being kept hostage with the bridge crew, and Stamets is being interrogated by this scientist who wants to replicate Discovery's spore drive, and the rest of Discovery's crew is released in shuttles as a show of good faith, right? But it's not really good faith.
No.
Yeah, because Osira got what she wanted.
Nope. She got the ship. That's all she wanted. Nope.
And she's got an up close and personal audience with Admiral Vance.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because you know, I mean, we joked earlier about badmirals, but this one really makes you question: is Vance gonna go all badmiral on us, or is he just does he really think Osira could possibly be trustworthy or whatever? So you've got all these interesting Star Trek tropes that they're playing with, and that's really fun.
Yes. Ultimately, the discussion plans out. Osira wants the Emerald Chain and the Federation to combine, and she wants to rule over everything. Vance is like, okay, well, if we do that, you have to follow the law. Are you going to stand trial for all your war crimes? And she's like, what do you mean? Of course not. Of course not. I'm not going to do that. I did nothing wrong. I had to keep my people alive.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you really think like, oh, maybe Vance really will, go for this, because he does seem contemplative, but then he's like, nah, of course not. This lady's crazy. She's bad to the bone. She's decked out in all black leather. You never trust a lady decked out in all black leather, right?
Right.
So, she leaves, and she's pretty pissed off when Vance throws this treaty like right back in her face. And so the bridge crew, who are being held captive on the Discovery right now, they escape with the help of Booker and the Andorian Rin, who are then captured again. And then Osira shows up on the bridge of the Discovery. And the other side of this coin is that Osira really wants Stamets. Osira's got this head scientist, right?
You can't drive the car without the keys.
Correctamundo. So what do you do with the keys, Ashley?
Well, Michael. Well, so before we get there, Stamets has this really interesting conversation with I'm blanking on the scientist's name, but the scientist that Aurelio, thank you, that Osira has in her leadership crew. And he's kind of Osira fanboy. He's like, no, Osira helped me when other people in my culture would have deemed me a waste of space.
Aurelio is disabled. He has a degenerative disease that technology cannot cure.
Yeah. So he views Osira differently, or whatever, but his conversation with Stamets really kind of throws his allegiance to Osira into question. So I thought that was just a really poignant conversation. Also, you get Stamets asks Aurelio, do you have children? And he's like, I have a child and I'm very proud of them. And you're like, feels like, this is how he views Adira, as his child. So that was just very emotionally poignant for me, at least. Watching Stamets grow last season was just really enjoyable, because I love Anthony Rapp. I think he's a wonderful actor, but Stamets sometimes got on my nerves because he was so egotistical. I mean, like, yes, I don't care that, yes, you are very, very smart,
right.
And that you can do these cool things. You need to calm down, dude. Take it down a notch. But watching his growth this season was very emotionally satisfying. And then, you get this culmination of, I'm very proud of my child. It's very cool. So you've got that. But then, whenever I forget how exactly Aurelio leaves the building or whatever, but Or does Michael knock him out? I don't remember.
Well, yeah, there's a scene in sick bay where they kind of fight it out, and
Yeah.
she knocks him out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Michael then, um, she sends Paul out into space. And
Rather forcefully.
Paul is pissed. And
I'd be
understandably
pissed.
so. He finds out that Adira has gone to the dilithium planet with Hugh, and Michael's like, we've got to get you out of here because you're the keys to the car.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, but my life is in that nebula. And he's, you don't ever see Paul express fear like that, and so that was just, it was such a wrenching
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah. After everything this crew has gone through together, over the course of season 1, season 2, and now we're far flung future where they're the only ones they know. And Culber, Stamets, their relationship has grown over the many weeks and months of the series. And now they have Adira Tal and even Gray in their midst, right?
Yeah, that's something we haven't touched on yet. Like,
Yeah.
in that nebula, Gray is visible to Culber and Saru, and so I think that's really affirming for Adira,
Mm-hmm.
because I think they feel like, oh, I'm still able to communicate with Gray, but not in the same way that I'm in touch with all the others,
Right.
previous hosts. Like, this is different. Why is this different? And then you actually get to see because of the radiation, you get to see the physical manifestation of Gray.
Right.
And that is just,
Right.
that's so many questions.
Right. Right. It was one thing I love about Discovery is that it does lean into the LGBTQ storylines, and there's a moment in the finale when Culber sees Gray for the first time and says, "I see you."
Mm-hmm.
And that's
And
something, where, I am not gay,
mm-hmm.
but I have many friends who are, and I grew up a part of the LGBTQ community because they were the first ones to really see me for who I was,
Mm-hmm.
even though I wasn't part of their group.
Mm-hmm.
It felt natural, it felt real, and it felt found, like found family aspect.
Yeah.
So that was a really touching, like, yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, and not just that, like he takes his face in his hands and he says, "You do have kind eyes," and so you see how, like, Adira has shared with, like, Hugh and Paul about Gray, because they're a package deal. That's a thing, that was mentioned earlier. But you, you just see that, that whole, I mean, found family again in so many different ways. It has been the running
Yes.
theme of season 3, and you know you see that, Hugh pulling, Gray into their family as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I just thought that was really fascinating.
No, absolutely. And you rightfully so. We've also rolled into the actual finale, That Hope
Yep.
Is You
Oh yeah,
part
man.
2, where this all happens. We're on the ship, we're on Discovery, we're trying to rescue, not just the crew, but we're trying to defeat Osira at the same time. There's a lot of great action in this episode too, in the finale. And you have Owo making the big sacrifice play to bring a bomb to destroy one of the ship's nacelles. And it turns out that the sphere data has manifested itself into the starship and has put itself, the sphere data has kind of evolved into an AI of sorts.
Yeah.
And we get these little robots.
Floaty robot buddies.
Little robot buddies.
What my friend Earl calls them. It's floaty
They're
robot
so
buddies.
cool. And yo, Ashley, tell me, why don't I have a plushie of one of these things yet?
Why don't I have a plushie of one of these things yet?
Hello, Star Trek shop. I was just on your website looking for some new shirts. Can you give me a plushie, please?
Is this? Eagle Moss does all the ships. Do we have a designated plushie manufacturer for Star Trek
right?
yet?
I mean, how many iterations of Baby Yoda can we have out there? But I can't get a single robot plushie.
Yeah. I mean,
Unbelievable.
Let's work on that.
It's a lot of fun. Tilly gets a hero moment where she rallies the crew, and
Mhm.
she kind of redeems herself in the eyes of the crew because she lost the Discovery, right? It was
Mhm.
captured by Osira, and that's
Mhm.
a big blow. There's no way around that. That
Yeah.
sucks. That's a
Mhm.
defeat. And her opportunity to rally and say, grab the phasers and the phaser rifles and say, my ship, we're taking
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Big
That was
pump,
that was
big pump
awesome.
up. And when we get into the finale, you have Tilly leading this rescue a little bit of the crew. And, like I said, they plant the bomb, and that drops Discovery from warp because Discovery is warping away. Osiris trying to get the Discovery away from the Federation, who is in pursuit with their own fleet to stop Osira from being able to jump away, because Discovery is like, if that falls into the wrong hands, forget about it. The spore drive is absolutely crucial to their plans.
Mm.
So Burnham is making her way to the ship's data core, and she meets up with Osira, and they have a big brawl. It's a brawl. It's a fight, and they're beating the crap out of each other. And unfortunately, we lose a great villain, but fortunately, Burnham wins the fight. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and do I understand correctly that Sonequa Martin Green was pregnant through most of the filming of season
Yes.
3 of Discovery, and so she just and she prefers to do her own stunts, if I understand correctly. So I don't know how much of that was her, but I mean, good on you, Sonequa. That was amazing.
Yeah. Really cool. Really
Yeah.
cool. Um, it's the programmable matter is such an interesting. It's such an interesting device.
Mhm.
I can't imagine how you can have a show now with certain obstacles like engineering or technical obstacles that programmable matter can't solve. So I'm wondering how they're going to write around that. Like as a TV viewer, I want challenges and I want cool solutions, and as a tech guy, I want cool tech, and that kind of fits the bill. But now I'm like,
Well, let me just say, I've been really impressed with your ability to rattle off all these Star Trek technobabble. I'm
you.
like, oh, that thing that does that, and you are like, well, here is the actual explanation of what that is. So here's an interesting thing.
Okay.
My husband is watching DS9 for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 nights ago we just watched that one really poignant episode in it's like season 4, episode 2, I believe, where Cisco gets trapped in subspace.
Okay.
And you have you go through the episode, and adult Jake Cisco is played by Tony Todd.
Yes.
So that particular episode. So there's a scene in that episode where um, adult Jake brings back the old DS9 crew to try an experiment to pull Ben Cisco out of subspace, because he's trapped within this anomaly or whatever. Again, I can't remember all the techno babble, but Bashir actually makes the comment, because they're on the Defiant
Mm-hmm.
when they do this, because Nogs pulled it out of mothballs, and Bashir makes the comment as like 2D interface. How did we ever live? And so I'm recognizing it's like, oh snap, they got programmable matter at some point, like within that, what,
Yeah.
30-40 year time span since then. So
Yeah.
I'm like, huh, or at least something like 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a really interesting. I don't know if the Discovery writers thought that hard about it, but just that one offhand comment just kind of sent my brain into like, ooh mode.
Yeah, no, you're that's a great observation, because I do feel
Yeah.
like the writers collectively have seen so much of previous episodes of Star Trek, from across different series,
Yeah.
that it's you can't look at Discovery and say, "Oh, this isn't Star Trek." Like whenever someone says that, I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's like there is no other show that perfectly encapsulates every single series in some way, shape, or form or another.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
I don't know, but hey, But hey,
Yeah.
no. So Osira's dead. Okay.
Hmm.
And all the Emerald Chain fighters get beamed off the ship.
Hmm.
Aurelio, the scientist, he's got a change of heart, and and suggests that, hey, maybe Book could use the spore drive with his empathic abilities. And lo and behold, hey, Ashley, that worked.
Hey.
That worked. It
Yeah.
seems like whatever empath ability that Booker's people have somehow can communicate with the spore drive.
Hmm. Hmm. How about that?
Intriguing. How about that? So they're able to jump back to the nebula, okay, and they are able to rescue Saru, Sukal, Adiratal, Dr. Culber. And it's a touching, heartwarming moment. My favorite part of the finale, for sure, when they finally realize and Sukal sees the bodies of his family, and he sees his former friends, and they beam away from the ship as it's falling apart and decaying around them. They get to the Discovery, and Saru realizes that this is my path, this is my mission. And
Hmm.
yes, I love Discovery, yes, I love the Federation, yes, I love Starfleet, but I'm needed elsewhere. Like this man needs me, Sukal needs me. And so they go off together back to Kaminar, and Saru is finally gets to go home, right? And what happens with Burnham?
Let's fly.
Promoted to captain.
Hmm.
Freaking finally.
Yeah, yeah. And before I started watching, or when I started watching Discovery, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. The main character isn't the captain." It's like, well, that's not entirely unusual because that was how Cisco started as well with DS9.
Right, right.
So I think it was really satisfying to actually watch her journey to the captain's chair. Um, because I think Michael, when she makes a mistake, she makes it big time.
Ah, you're right
Um,
about that.
yeah, I mean, when she makes the comment, I would rather regret something I did than something I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, dang, if that's not exactly how she lives. So I don't know. It's really interesting because she's such like a she's kind of like Kirk in that manner. I mean,
For sure.
Kirk and Archer kind of the Prime Directive wasn't as a big of a thing at that point, but
Mm-hmm.
she's kind of in that style as well, but also like she has that same uh tenacity that you see in Janeway, where Janeway's not going to leave anybody behind,
Right.
and Michael is like that too.
Right.
So I don't know, I just feel like you get a lot of different um I mean, she's very much her own captain, but at the same time you see a little bit of who came before her in her leadership style, and I think that's really interesting. So
Yeah, and looking back at the chair, you had Captain Lorca, who, as we know, turned out to be a villain in the end. Even though I
mhm.
thought his portrayal in the first half of season one was excellent. I really enjoyed Jason Isaacs as Captain Gabriel Lorca.
He's just a great like human too, from what I have gathered.
Yes, yes, his Twitter is delightful.
Oh, fun.
And then you have, of course, you have Captain Pike, who comes on as temporary captain for the particular mission, and his influence is ricochets throughout the crew, and you can see it all over the bridge. You can see it not just in Michael, but you can see it in Saru, you can see it in Tilly, you can see it in Awashakun, you can see it in Detmer, in Reese, in Nilsson,
Hmm.
and it all really plays off. And Stamets, like without Captain Pike, like I hate to say it, but I just don't think that the crew would be where they are today. I don't think they would be as cohesive or as matured without Captain Pike.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair, and Anson Mount's Pike is just great. I mean, Anson Mount is just a great actor. I would like to go watch a lot more of his work now. Um, but the fact that you actually get to see like a more in-depth version of Pike than what we get in the
Yes.
in the pilot, of course, um, or the original pilot. But and then also you get some iteration of Pike in the the JJ movies. Um, so it was really he's definitely he's kind of got that we're not going to leave anybody behind either.
Yep.
Um, he's got that kind of attitude. He's a little more by the book, I think, than Kirk. Would you say? Is that fair?
I think that's fair. I think he's a little bit more by the book, but he doesn't let the book rule every page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Like he's able to see nuance.
Yes, yes. Like when Philippa Georgiou is like, "Hey, I'm not from your universe," and he kind of winks at her, and he's like, "Yeah, what do you mean?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, he knows. He
Oh
knows
yeah.
what's up. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. And so, and then you have Captain Saru in the center seat for most of season 3 before Michael Burnham gets promoted. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these influences have impacted Michael greatly. So I'm excited for season 4. Of course, I wouldn't be having this podcast if I wasn't.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna be great, and I feel like we are going to see Michael stumble through her captaincy a little bit, and we're gonna see
Mm-hmm.
her make some leadership mistakes that will have consequences.
Yeah.
When she has to lead her first, or when she has to command the first people to their deaths on a away mission.
Yeah. That's yeesh. Yeah, that's not good. That's
Yeah,
hard.
that's part of the gig.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's a no, it's not a it's a weighty responsibility for sure.
Mm, mm. Ashley, we have gone through a lot. I'm looking at our episode counter right now. It says 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure this is the longest. I was hoping for a target of like 90 to an hour 45 maybe. And whew, but I didn't want to cut anything off. We were just,
We got 13 episodes to cover, and
yeah.
there's a lot of like really fascinating discussions you can have within each episode. There's
Yes.
stuff that is emotionally impactful for both of us in different ways. So, you know, the fact that this isn't quite 3 hours is kind of impressive to me. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough. In each episode, there was always something that really anchored Discovery to its core Trekkiness, whether it's that touching moment between the newfound family members, or connecting with the past, or those daring moments of bravery and action amongst crew members to save each other, or to save someone they don't know, or to take that leap of faith to discover, what might be the cause of all this strife and conflict. And that really is core Star Trek to me. And when certain writing elements, certain pacing, all these things, that we can critique and take away from each individual episode. At the end of the day, I just really think that season 3 really did well and really set up season 4 in a big way. And I hope it goes in great directions. I mean, listening to the interview, knowing that Michelle Paradise is coming back with those themes of reconnectedness and enhancing that family aspect, that's really exciting. And I can't wait to see where Captain Burnham takes us.
absolutely, for sure. And Sonequa had a lot of really interesting things to say in that interview. Speaking, actually asked her specifically about Michael's Vulcan and human upbringings, and how do those influences play. So
Mm.
not even just the influences of the captains that she served under, from Georgiou
Mhm.
to Saru. Um, you've also got the human upbringing. You've got the Vulcan upbringing, and it sounded like her life was kind of split equally um, among those two cultures. So that's you know a really interesting dynamic to take in as well. Like, and I just think she embodies that so well with her physical performance. Like, she can go from cool logic
Mm.
to screaming in joy. At best example I can think of that is in That Hope Is You Part 1.
Yes.
Where, she lands and she's so excited, like, oh, I made it. Thank God I made it. And then she, collects herself, blows up the suit like she's supposed to, and then like falls to the ground in like emotional anguish because she's just spent in physically and emotionally. And it's just she's so great. We are so fortunate to have her leading the cast in Discovery. I think that's awesome.
Truly. Ashley, I've already got you booked for at least 2 episodes for season 4, maybe more, depends on your appetite. I know you said you're always ready to talk disco, so don't threaten me with that.
Hey, I will threaten you with that any day of the week, buddy.
I love it. I love
talking Trek.
Perfect. Before we go, please, where can we find you on the Subspace networks?
Okay, so tune your subspace frequencies to the following locations. You can read my words in a few places. If you want to read a lot about Star Trek, I'm writing about that, among other things, on fangirlish.com. You can read my blog, nerdyblogging.wordpress.com. You can hear my words being read on the Sci-Fi 5 podcast. That's 5 minutes of science fiction and occasionally science fact history 5 days a week. It's actually a podcast put out by Roddenberry. So I write a few scripts for them a month. You can hear my voice not only on the We Made This podcast network, but on another podcast that I do with my friends where we just kind of shoot the bull about movies, music, film, television, whatever we're geeking out about. And that's called Dearly Debated. You can connect with me on Twitter at TheNerdyBlogger, or you can like my Facebook page, facebook.com/TheNerdyBlogger. And I think that is all of my places. I'm a busy lady.
Love it. Good.
Yeah.
Stay busy, stay active. That's what this life is all about. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That really is. Folks, once again, my guest has been Ashley Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us, Ashley. I can't thank you enough. I know this was a lengthy project and we got through it and we did it, and it's going to be great. It's going to go live probably Monday, give or take. And folks, if you want to connect with us on Twitter or Instagram, if you liked this episode, if you thought it went on too long and I should shut up more and let Ashley do all the talking, please do let me know at Starfleet Pod on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find us on the We Made This network of podcasts, as that is where we are housed and homed. Check us out at wemadethisnetwork.com. And of course, we are on your preferred podcast platform. So please do like, follow, subscribe, whatever the button says. Please do that. 5-star reviews really help us in terms of metrics and those platforms putting us in front of other people's eyes. So the best tip you can ever give is a 5-star review. If you want to follow me, you can at Mike Slamer on Twitter. You can find me there. Star Trek isn't all we are talking about here on the network, so please do stick around and hear about what else we're talking about. Okie dokie.
Elsewhere on We Made This. We dig music.
I feel that this is the first song that properly ripped into R. Kelly as well.
Which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Right, so R. Kelly has
bang on time.
Only just been convicted.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard of R. Kelly was reading Smash Hits. So this is before I'd even started reading Kerrang. So I started getting Kerrang in 95, so this must have been 94.
Yep.
And it was when...
he married Aaliyah, who was 14
yeah,
at the
basically time. Aaliyah had just released her album Age Ain't Nothing But a Number.
The Movie Palace Podcast.
The book I want to tell you about is The Art of American Screen Acting, 1912 to 1960, by Dan Callahan. What I try to do in my movie programs is introduce people to films they haven't seen, and some of these people are younger viewers who haven't watched a lot of classic cinema, especially anything predating Star Wars. They'll often make comments like, "I really like the movie, but the acting back then was pretty awful." The Art of American Screen Acting meets such comments head on.
Observing the Pattern, a Fringe podcast.
So there is a real element of redemption. You know, we talk about William Bell getting redemption in this episode, or redeeming himself for his actions with his sacrifice, but the whole arc of Fringe is in many ways Walter redeeming himself as well, and realising what he's done wrong, for one thing, and realising where he's gone wrong, and coming to terms with that. So yeah, this is a very key point, I think, in that whole macro story of Fringe, as well as Walter's character.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also an element that we discussed in a previous episode about the weaponization of children.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.